Test, test. All right. E, reconvene to open session. F, announcement of actions taken in closed session. None. G, oh, correction. We're going to go to H, comments from the public. We're going to skip G. We'll go back to it after the comments from the public. We only have one. And that the board will take any and all comments from the public related to an item on the agenda or any other item of district business that is not on the agenda. H, and that's Isau Perez? Isau Perez? Okay.
Good afternoon. Well, good evening. I don't know if this is the right place for me to say this, but in November, early November, my kid got bullied in William Moreno. Two other kids hit him, right, and it resulted in a fracture of his hand. So I took him to the hospital, put a cast on. We reported it to the principal. Principal, she told me that she couldn't tell me anything of any specifics of the consequences that the other two kids were going to get. But back in the day when I was in school, if you get in a fight, if let's say if I would hit another kid, the police can come and arrest me for assault and expel me from school. And it's in this case, 2 days ago, I come to find out, the kid's still in school. The two kids that hit my son are still in school because he threatened to hit my kid again because he saw my son speaking to, I guess, a little girl that he's dating or something like that. So when I asked the principal, what actions did you guys take when my son got hit and assaulted in it's actually a misdemeanor battery, what did you guys do? And she said, I still can't tell you anything. Right now, my son, he does not want to go to school. I don't know what to do, I'm here to seek help, see if what is the right procedure, or what's the procedure when a kid gets assaulted in school. Does the other two kids get reprimanded or arrested, or maybe I don't even know if they got suspended or anything, So again, 2 days ago, my son got threatened. I submitted a police report. I just want to see if anybody can, talk to Ms. Vadillo at William Moreno and ask her, what's going on in that school. Because when I talked to the cop a couple of days ago, he said my son's not the only case in that school. When it comes to other kids hitting, I just found out by my son that another kid got hit in school months ago, and his nose got broken, and the kids that hit him are still in school. So what? I don't know. I guess the school system is too lenient now with kids. But I remember when I used to go to school, if I would get in a fight, if I would hit somebody, we were all scared because cops would come get you, arrest you, and expel you, and that's it. So I'm just here to ask for help, see what we can do.
Yeah, Mr. Perez. Sorry, so it was only 3 minutes, but can you leave your number? We're gonna have the superintendent follow up with you. Do you have it?
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna have the superintendent follow up, and then I'll follow up with them also as well to make sure that see what's going on this matter.
All right, sounds good.
I'm sorry. When was the actual fight?
In November. It was either late October or early November. But my son's cast was, I got the record here on my phone on the San Diego radios. It was put on the 8th, November 8th. His cast was put on November 8th and was taken off a month later.
Okay, like I said, we'll have the superintendent follow up with you, so just expect a phone call from him, and then that way we could go ahead and see how best we could remedy this.
All right, sounds good. Appreciate your help.
Thank you. We're going to go now to G, the presentation. Number 1, CAS and dashboard student achievement data.
Good evening, Board President, Superintendent Jimenez, the rest of the trustees, and our staff and community members here present. My name is Elisa Ramirez. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, and today I'm going to give you a part one presentation of the dashboard and focusing on the student achievement piece. I will be coming back for the next board meeting to bring you the other dashboard data because it is a lot of information and might take quite a bit. Okay. So before we begin, just so you are aware of what is our student enrollment and which are our student groups that we will be focusing for today's presentation, is similar to what's on the dashboard and on our CASP data. So last year we had an enrollment of 8,563 students. This year our enrollment is 8,359, so we have about 200 students less than last year. Our socioeconomic disadvantage percentage last year was 84.1, and now we have a rise of 86.7, which means we have more students that are under the socioeconomic disadvantage level. English learners, last year we had 62.6%. This year we have 61.9. Our foster youth remained the same with 0.3%, and our students with disability grew a little bit from 9.1% to 9.4%. In order to understand the dashboard focuses on 11 different items, and I did leave for the community a copy of some information regarding the dashboard that you will need to see. Looks like this. Okay, so I gave you three pieces of paper. And so it says we have 11 measures. Of those 11 measures, 6 are state measures and 5 are local measures. So today I'm going to be discussing the academic measure that is in one of those 6 state measures. I gave you also how we usually are measured, which is the one that has the color-coded measures, and that shows us if we're growing. We move from red to orange, yellow, green, and then blue. But this year, because of COVID and because of everything that happened with suspending the assessments, our assessment accountability went just out of whack. I mean, it's just, we were all over. Some were using iReady, others were using CASP. So, and I'll share that information with you right now. But now we're going to follow for this year, this purple one, where we're going to be looking at only status. So we are restarting the dashboard. So it's like starting fresh, moving from here on, okay? And then I also gave you a copy of which ones are the 6 state indicators. The one I'm going to be focusing today is the academic performance that is on the top, and then the English learner progress, because those are academics. So if we start with the ELA, math, and science, we have 4 levels of performance. We have the standard exceeded, the standard met, and then you have standard nearly met and standard not met. To be considered being at standard, you see that dash in the middle, you have to have met or exceeded in order to be at standard level. So we're looking at the ELA. The CASP, or other, you might know the test as the SBAC. It's under CASP. And so in 2019-20, when we closed our schools, there was no CASP given to any of our students. In 2021, we came back to schools. We had a big majority of our students going to independent studies. So that year, the state allowed us to give an alternative test if we had one in place for language arts, math, or science. So we did have, from 3rd through 8th, we had the iReady in ELA and math. And so our students from 3rd through 8th took the iReady and they didn't take the CASP. So because they didn't take the CASP, I can't do a comparison of previous years, but I will show you the 11th graders because our 11th graders did take the CASP. Some from home, if they were in independent studies, others from their classrooms. So if we just look at the rest of the years and not take into account those 2 years in the middle, our 3rd through 8th students and 11th grade students are the ones that are being tested for ELA. And you can see how back in 2014-15, we were at 19%. And over time, we had small increases going all the way to 33.2%. And then with 2 years of either distance learning, or for some students, it was 1 year of distance learning and 1 year of return, our scores for last year went down to 25.8. Our 11th graders did not take the test in 2019-20, as I mentioned, but they did take the test in 2021 because we did not have iReady for the 11th grade level. So here you also see progressively from 2015 on, our scores going up, rising up to 53.2% in 2018-19. And then gradually we started declining, and we left off last year at 44.9, which is about what we were at in 2017-18. Here is just a picture of the 4 levels. So if you see, the ones on the bottom are the ones that are exceeded, which is the highest level you could achieve. So you can see how we were increasing from 3.0% to 10.4%. And then after those 2 years, our scores went down to 7.4% exceeded. You can see the same similar pattern for the students who met. From 16% went up to 22.8 in 18-19, and then we had a decline after the 2 years that our students were not being tested at the lower grade levels. And then the green and the blue is what we need to have for standards. So our goal is to increase our blues and our greens and decrease our orange, which are the students who did not meet it, and the yellow, which are the ones who nearly met it. So even those students that are in the yellow, it just takes a little bit more for them to get to the green, which is met. We always want to show the gaps that we have between our student groups. So here is a visual of the gap, which is the space in between, from our social economic disadvantaged students. So I took the percentages of those students that fall under social economic disadvantage. And if you recall from the first slide, that's 80, last year was 84% of our students are social economic disadvantage, which is a large amount of our population. So when they were in 2014-15, they were performing at 18% met or exceeded. And then I took the students that do not fall under social economic disadvantage, which is the other 15% of our students. They were scoring at 33%. And then moving on to the 21-22, there still is a gap. The gap is smaller compared to what we had in 18-19. Just you can see the difference there. So we were closing the achievement gap. Our goal is to completely close it so that all of our students are performing at the same level. The other student group that we look at is our English learners. Of all our groups, these are one of our groups that are really struggling with the assessments. So in 14-15, we had 6% of our English learners that were meeting or exceeding in language arts, compared to 41% of our non-English learners. So English learners in last year, we had 62.6% of our students. So that means that the remaining 37% of our students are the ones you see on the top. So the 37% were scoring 52% meeting or exceeding, compared to the 7% of our English learners. So this is the one subgroup that is really struggling with the assessment. Then we go with our students with disabilities. So in 2014, only 1% of our students were meeting and exceeding the language arts test, compared to 20% of our non-English students. So our SPED population, as I mentioned in the first slide, was 9.1%. And so the other percentage is those students that were not receiving special services. Here's an overall of all the grades. All the schools in our district. So if you see the highlighted portion where it says all students, the very first column, you can see the percentage of students that met or exceeded. For the district, you can't see it. Probably see it in the back one. So in the overall district, there's a 25.79, and then you can see how the elementaries and secondaries performed. The highest percentage was our 11th graders, which was 46.91. And then from there, you can see that it goes down with Enrique Camarena and Jefferson in the 28 percentile and 25 percentile.
This is actual students meeting and met.
Exceeding.
So 21% of our students are meeting, 17% of our students are meeting. And like you say, the highest one is the high school, 11th grade, almost 50% of the
Almost 50%, yeah.
pretty much 28%, 25, 17, 12. This is below 25 percentile.
Correct. So the average of all of those is the one that gives me the 25.79 as a district. And then on the right, you can see the different subgroups that are at each school. So you see the socioeconomic disadvantage is the second red column, and then the third one is English learners, and the last one is our students with disabilities.
Just a quick question.
Mhm.
On the English learners, do we have, like, the period of time that they've been here? Like, when they started the school system?
We do have different levels of English learners, and so we do call our long-term English learners are those who have been here for many years. We also have our newcomers who are recent immigrants. So we can disaggregate the data for all the different levels. I didn't do it for this one, but we have that available. In mathematics, our scores are lower than in ELA. Students have been struggling with math. Even though there is a part in the CAS that numeracy is just basic computation, the majority of this test is not like the test we used to see, so it's a lot of word problems, a lot of reading. So our students who are limited with English do struggle to read the problems because of the amount of wording that is now involved. So similar to ELA, in 2021, our 3rd through 8th did not take the CAS because we had the iReady. So I didn't take the average because the iReady is not part of the CASP, but you can see how we started at 15% in 14-15, and we were increasing up to 2018 with 22.5%. And with these 2 years that they didn't test, our scores went down to almost 15%, which was how we started in 14-15. And these trends are all across the state, and so that's why California called this our restart year. Here's the 11th graders. So our 11th graders did take the CASP. Again, some were at home with independent studies, and others were physically on campus. So unlike the ELA, you can see that we took a harder hit in mathematics just because students were not retaining the information. And so we went from 28.9% in 2021 to 14.3%. The other thing that I need to note is that in 2021, because we had several students that were doing independent studies, that year the majority of the districts did not have 100% participation. And usually they tell us that we have to have above 95% participation for this year because of the circumstances. Some had 80% participation, 85%. So really, the data, it's not that it's not reliable, but it's not comparable.
Why are kids scoring lower now in math than in ELA? Because math, I'm sure it's computational part of it. Some is reading problems. But we're showing me that 86% of our students did not meet
Correct.
criteria.
Yeah, so students are struggling a lot with the math because, like I mentioned, it's a lot of word problems. It's not a simple computation anymore. These standards are rigorous. There's a lot of project-based learning, which is the conceptual part of the math. And so that is why the students are having difficulty.
Another quick question on that is, when we're administering the CASP is once a year?
It's once a year.
Once a year.
Mhm.
So we can't administer it like somewhere towards, like at the beginning, then at the end to see if they made any progress during that time, in order for us to make sure that the assessment is something that is measurable within that school year and things that may need to change during that school year.
So we don't offer the CASP, but we do have other resources. So even within the CASP website, there's interim assessments, which address the standards that our district or our teachers can use and they can administer throughout the year. So that could be one way of doing it. I'll be sharing later on the work that we're doing with Orenda, where we're doing item analysis. We focused on certain number of standards in the year, and teachers are teaching every 5 weeks. And at the end of the 5 weeks, we're assessing, and then we're looking where the students need so that we can reteach those standards. So we're being more attentive to the standards through the work that we're doing with Orenda.
Orenda is another program?
No. Orenda are consultants that are coming to train us, administrators and teachers, on how to do curriculum mapping, addressing standards, looking at data, and understanding how our students are progressing so that we can perfect our craft. And then this year, we're going to have a summer institute because it's like a 4-year program. And this year, we're going to be looking at instructional strategies for both math and language arts.
Yeah, and if I could just add that to Elisa, that one of the things that we're trying to do is be a lot more intentional with our what we call data-driven decision making, right? And that's a very powerful work, and I'm including in my weekly board report that you'll get more information. Just this week, for example, under the leadership of Elisa and our educational services team, and I was able to join them at a training with ICOE for our differentiated assistance program. And we spent about 4 hours just with us and a facilitator from ICOE looking at asking those really tough questions based on data, right? Based on what is all this data telling us, and what is it that we need to do, for our student achievement and our student success, and working, collaborating with our teachers, because it's really, our teachers are going to be all of our staff matter, and all of our staff, have a part in the education of our students, but our teachers are those really frontline workers when it comes to our students' education, and they're working hard. They really are, and Elisa's been working with them, meeting at our CAP Center. We're meeting at ICOE. They're meeting with the RENDA to look at our teaching strategies, to look at a pedagogy, to look at methodology, so we could be deliberate and intentional as far as saying we need to improve our student achievement. We need to, improve our student success at school. But I do want to say that our teachers and our staff and our administrators are really stepping up to the plate, embracing the work that we're doing, and wanting the same thing for our students as well. So it's feeling good. It's exciting, but there is a lot of work ahead of us.
So part of the work that we did is last summer, we had ELA math secondary teachers, and then we had all of the elementary come in as teams, and each one had to pick the 25 strongest or more critical standards. And out of those 25, they separate them in chunks of 5. And in 5 weeks, they have to teach those standards. And they created assessments based on their standards. And then they looked at their CASP results, and they said, okay, if in LA, the last time we were here, we had a 28% student that met or exceeded, then our goal in our common assessments that we're doing, our goal or our target is to improve 5%. So we did put ourselves a target. So every 5 weeks, the teachers are providing instruction on the standards that they all agreed on. Then they give an assessment. And then right away, we collect the data, and then we start having these data analysis meetings with the different grade levels. And all of my ed services team is divided, and we go to all the different schools to see what the work that's happening. And then we do learning walks. So we actually go, we walk, we observe, and we see if the teachers are, because they have agreements on what it is that they're going to be doing in their classrooms. And we walk with the administrators just to see what is happening in our classrooms, and seeing if they're doing the agreements. And so what we noticed, because we just finished test number 3, is we noticed that there has been a lot of growth because our teachers are very intentional in the standards. So the teachers are realizing that they can see, like, even if a student that scored level 1, let's say we put ourselves of 4 or 5 levels. If they're scoring a level 1, the following unit test that they do, they notice that the student now went up to a 2. So they might not be at standard, but they see that the students are increasing. The other thing that our teachers are doing is they're focusing on students, and they're letting them know, hey, this is what you did this test, and look at how much you improved, so that the students have goals and they see the importance of these assessments. So that work is happening in elementary and junior high and at the high school for ELA and for math. In the elementary is only ELA, and we'll be starting math this coming summer. So like I said, we're very intentional, and we're looking exactly at what the data is telling us, and we do see growth happening this year, but we won't be able to see that growth until after we give the CASP towards April and May. So we won't see the scores until, I think they come out in July. So in July, we'll see if there was growth in the actual CASP. Our questions in our assessments are very similar, like the ones that are asked in the actual SBAC test. So here's the met and exceeded, and then the nearly met and the not exceeded in percentages for the mathematics test. So again, you can see that this one has more orange and yellow, and our goal is to get the blues and the greens higher and lessen the orange and the yellow. Our groups, socioeconomic disadvantage, you can see that there's a gap. And even though last year we went down to a little bit in percentages, you can still see that the gap is smaller than the previous year. So the gap in 2018-19 between our socioeconomic disadvantage against the non-social socially economic disadvantage is wider. So we have a much smaller gap. Ay, ya me moví mucho. Hold on. So then we did the same for our English learners. And you can see how we had a small gap, we started increasing, and then last year it was closed a little bit. So we're still very low if you see the percentages, but as we are increasing, we also want to be closing the gap between our different groups. And here's the students with disability. So that one pretty much stayed the same from the first year, 14-15, up to now. And it looks like the pattern, many schools just regress to how we had done a few years back. And then we have to come back and start growing again. And then you see all of our schools, similar to ELA. So the all students last year was 14.61, but you can see the different schools, how they performed. And even at Calexico High School, which was high in language arts, the percent of students meeting or exceeding is 14.4%. So really struggling with math, particularly algebra. A lot of our students are struggling with algebra.
Lisa, I had a quick question in regards to this one, because I was just, the ones that point out to me real quick, what stand out to me is Kennedy Gardens and Dual Elementary School. What's going on in those schools that's different than any of the other schools? What's happening there in those schools?
I don't know exactly why these schools are always in the lower part. I know for a fact, for example, Rockwood, we have the highest chronic absenteeism, and we've tried a lot of activities for students, but the chronic absenteeism is high. That is one of the barriers that we found throughout our schools. Then certain schools, for example, Rockwood also has the highest percentage of English learners compared to other elementary sites. So there's different factors, but the work that we're doing right now, everybody's doing the same work. So even like Kennedy and Dual, we're doing the same type of work, and they have to administer the same test at the same rigor. And what we notice, I go and I visit Maine's Kennedy, because that's a school that I'm assigned with, and I do see a lot of changes happening even in our learning walks. When walking with Ms. Fuentes, we notice how our teachers are now more precise in their instruction. So it might be that they just needed this type of work to be monitoring the data, but I wouldn't be able to pinpoint exactly what is it.
Sorry. You could see in that one graph, though, a statewide trend between ELA and math. So you could see that even at the county and the state level, in ELA, both county and statewide, it was higher. And you see in math, yes, we are lower, and we have to, improve that, right? But you could also see that at the county and the state level, they went down in math as well. So it was a statewide trend in California over these past couple of years.
Yeah, it was hard for all students, but it was especially difficult for our what we call our unduplicated students, which is our own English learners, a socioeconomic disadvantage, and our foster youth. We have a 92.2 percentage of unduplicated, which means that over 90% of our students fall in one of those groups. In science, the test is called CAST, not SBAC, but they still fall under CASP. And so for this one, in science, I-Ready does not do science. So we had our 5th, 8th, and 12th grade students take the CASP. So in 2019-20 was the only year that nobody took CASP, but in 2021, all of our students took the CAST because we didn't have an I-Ready science. So those are true numbers. Again, the percentage of participation might not have been higher than 95 because at that time we knew it was going to be difficult to get our students that were independent studies. But even from 2021 to 21-22, we had just a 0.2% gain. We have been struggling with math too. You can see everybody's under the 20%. This is how it looks with the 4 different levels. Very, very small blue line because our students are not exceeding, and then you see the the percentages for the met, and then the huge percentages of the students that are nearly met and not met.
Is the science test more of a reading test?
It's basically reading. Mhm. So in our socioeconomic disadvantage, you can see there is a gap, but even though we're very low in percentages, we're closing the gap between the socioeconomic disadvantage and the non-socioeconomic disadvantage. For English learners, which struggle a lot with the language, you can see the percentages. We went from 0.4% to 0.8% to 0.9. So not even 1% of our students are meeting or exceeding the science test. It is a very difficult test because of the academic language that's involved and the amount of reading in English. Our students with disabilities have a higher percentage that are English learners, but they're still really, really low. Then we compared how our different grade levels perform. So in 2018-19, you can see the blue is our 5th graders. That's our elementary level. The green is our junior high. They take the test in 8th grade. And the garnet is our 12th graders. They take the test in 12th grade. The law requires that our high schoolers are tested once before they graduated. So when we work with the high school, they prefer that our students are tested in 12th grade versus 11th grade. I'm not sure if this year they've selected 12th or 11th. See there? 11th? Okay. So we're going to go with 11th grade because a lot of our students are still taking science in 11th grade. And in 12th grade, they were testing in 12th grade, but the students are no longer taking science. Most of them finished their science requirement by the time they're juniors. So in 2021, you see the comparisons again. And then in 21-22, it kind of flipped around, and now our elementaries perform lower than our secondary students. Our English learners, for them, we have a different test. It's called the LPAC. The LPAC does have 4 levels. They're not the same as the CASP. For this one, we use well-developed is level 4. And then anything under that line is like not met. Okay, so we have to make sure that our students are performing at the highest level. And so you can see that level 3 is moderately developed, 2 is somewhat developed, and then 1 is minimally developed. So here are the different levels, how our students have performed over time. So in 17-18, you can see we had 19.3% of our students that were at level. And then you can see how it started decreasing. And then last year, we increased from the previous year to 8.6. So our students, in order to be reclassified, our English learners, they have to have gotten a level 4. If they don't get a 4 in the LPAC, then they're not able to reclassify because that's the very first filter that we have to have. So in 21-22, only 8.6% of our English learners could reclassify because that's all the percentage that got the level 4. So regardless if they had straight A's, if the teacher recommended it, the fact that they didn't get a 4 in this test, they cannot reclassify. And these are reclassification rates over time. For a period of time, we stayed at 7. We saw some increases. At one point, we got to 15%. That was 1920, the year we actually closed for COVID. Then the following year, we dropped. That's when our students were in-person and independent studies. And then this year, we went up to 7.5. So we kind of went back again to how we were doing in 16-17. This year, we pull out the data from DataQuest, and so our 21-22 scores, you see the little asterisk, we computed it out of CalPATS just because DataQuest does not have it available yet. So the dashboard, the assessment that I just mentioned, they pull that information to upload it into the dashboard, and the dashboard has a completely different way of calculating things. It happens the same for our assessments. So when we talk ELA and math, they have the standard not met, standard nearly met, and so forth. So that is about the same thing. The difference is how they calculate where we're at. So what they have is they have these standard measurements that are different for every grade level and every subject. So for example, in 3rd grade language arts, To be at standard, you have to have gotten 2,432 score, okay? If you score anything below that number, you're like in a negative. If you score anything above it, you're in a positive. So they score us on how we're doing away from 2432, whether it's on the positive or in the negative. So what they do is, let's say that a student got 2,420. They're below the level, right? So the difference is negative 12. And another student got 2,426. They're below, so that's a negative 6. And then we compute all of the students. So like for this sample, let's say that these 6 students were our school. They add up all the positives and negatives. They average it out by dividing the number of students, and then they get that these students or this school is 5 points above level 3. Okay, and it's important to understand that because that's how the dashboard calculates it. So I mentioned earlier that for this year, they're suspending the colors, and we're using the very low, low, medium, high, and very high. That's going to be our status for this year. It's going to be our restart. This is where we're going to start, and the next year, we're going to go back to our colors. So the way they tell us, if you notice here, it says for English language arts, we are low. We're 68.6 points below standard. That means we're 68.6 in the negative, okay? For mathematics, we're very low. We saw in our SBAC that our scores were very low. We're 103.9 points below the standard on the negative side. And then our English learners, we use a different measurement, and they are called, they're making progress. And I'll explain what making progress is, but we're at 42.1% making progress. So what does that mean? So if I show you how we did in 2016-17 up to now, imagine that this number right here, the 0, is where the standard is. I just shared that for third grade ELA is 2,342. They have a really complicated system, so I wouldn't be able to tell you what number is the standard for all. But we know that there's negatives and there's positives. So in 2016-17, we were negative 63 points away from that, where we're supposed to be that standard. And then we were getting closer, negative 53. Then we went to negative 46. The line is going up. The goal is to go all the way to the line. But after COVID, after those 2 years of not doing the dashboard, we went again back to negative 68.6. So our goal is to get closer to the positives and stay away from those negatives. Math, you can see the big dip that we took. So we had stayed around the same 77%, and then after COVID, we just went farther away. Again, we need to be closer. So I wanted to show you a different way of seeing our student groups. So if we're supposed to be at 0, right? So we're supposed to be here at the ELA standard. The ones that are closer to getting to the ELA standard are all computation, when we put all the students together. Our socioeconomic disadvantaged students are the next one that are closest to that 0. Then we have our homeless population at negative 83 points. And then you have the English learners. And then you have our students with disability. Our students with disability are the farthest from the standard. That means they are struggling the most to try and get to that ELA middle point. In math, you can see them all together. But again, our all is our closest. Then our socioeconomic. Then our homeless. Then English learners. And then students with disability. So you kind of have to see it like a timeline. Either it's on the left side, or if you see it like the previous one, we're at the bottom and we need to get above.
It's like a standard deviation. We're like
Something like that.
4 standard deviations to get to normal.
To normal.
Standard.
Mhm.
So we are really, really behind.
Really behind. Yeah.
Big time in both areas for ELA and math.
And that is why we're doing the work that we're doing right now, because we see that we're not hitting the standards. And the work that we're doing now is you have to be at standard. You can't be teaching 6th graders 4th grade math, because the test is going to be on 6th grade. So now our teachers are teaching 6th grade standards to 6th grade students. Our students with disabilities, you see sometimes that our teachers might have a student in 6th grade who is reading at 1st grade level. So we're telling our teachers, if you keep teaching a 6th grade student, even though they might have disabilities, at a 1st grade level, the student's never going to be able to test at 3rd grade level. So we're looking for strategies that will support our teacher and providing access to our students to the core standard, to the standard that they're supposed to be teaching, and that is the difficulty for our students with disabilities because they do have all kinds of disabilities. Our English learners, I mentioned that we have 4 LPAC levels, okay, and you see the numbers on the top. So the dashboard changes it, and they created 2 more levels in between. So they divided the 2 into 2 low or 2 high. And they did the same for the 3 low or 3 high. So how we monitor our progress for our English learners is if our English learners are jumping from one number to another, or if they were already 4s, if they stayed as 4. So it says EL students who progressed at least 1 LP level, which is the English learner progress indicator, or they stayed at a 4, then they're considered making progress. So we had 42.1% of our English learners that were making progress. We had a 9% drop from 3 years ago. So what does this tell us? This tells us that we have a lot of work in front of us, and we have to be very prescriptive with what we do. So we have 3 goals in our educational services, and the very first goal is we need to make sure that our students are reading at grade level by the time they get 3rd grade. And this is the same goal that our superintendent, Tony Thurman, has at the state level. And you have a lot of monies going in for literacy and for the kind of work that we're doing with curriculum planning to ensure that our students get to read by 3rd grade, because they're not reading by 3rd grade, which is when they take the first assessments, they won't be able to meet or exceed the standards. The second thing that we're looking at is our English learners are struggling. So we have set our goal that by the time our students leave elementary, they need to have been reclassified. That means that they need to have learned English. We know we're going to get newcomers in junior high, and we know we're going to get newcomers at the high school level, but we shouldn't have students reclassifying until they get to the high school, because every year it gets harder. So the sooner they reclassify, the sooner they learn English, the sooner they'll be able to perform. And then the other goal that we have, which is the work that we're doing, is that we want all of our teachers to improve in their Tier 1 instruction. Tier 1 instruction means the teaching that we do for all students. And that's because we want to make sure that we close that achievement gap that I showed you earlier, and that there's equity and access for all of our subgroups that are struggling. As a district, we're an AVID district, and so the mission for AVID and the mission that we've been following is that we do want to close that opportunity gap, and we do want to prepare all of our students to be college and career ready so that they are successful in a global society. So between the work we're doing with AVID, the work we're doing with Orenda, and these goals, we hope to start. It's not going to change overnight. It's going to take us years, but we want to see growth every single year. So I explained to you what we did with Orenda. So Orenda is the consultants that are coming in that are taking us through this process. Eventually, they're going to leave. And once they leave, the district leaders, the principals at the sites, and our teachers have to continue this work. And we're starting with ELA and math, but our goal is once we understand this program and this system and we start pushing forward, we're going to bring in our science and our social sciences and our other courses. They're already doing work similar, but we're not involved in that process yet because our focus has been ELA and math. I mentioned we had AVID district-wide, and I want Celia to a little bit.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Celia Hurtado. I'm the academic coordinator for elementary. So I'm also a district director for AVID for Calexico. And I'm just going to explain a little bit about the strategies that we actually have right now district-wide, which is WICR. WICR stands for Writing, Inquiry, Collaboration, Organization, and Reading. So what teachers are doing, they're incorporating these strategies throughout the day. It doesn't matter if it's math, science, or social studies. They're doing either writing or collaboration or using a graphic organizer to organize their thoughts. The other one is that we want, like Ms. Ramirez said, Tier 1 instruction to be rigorous, to be grade level standards, and we're doing that work with Orenda right now. The next one is student agency. We want to build our students to be able to advocate for themselves, to ask for help if they need it, if they need supports, to be able to advocate for that. The other one is a collective educator agency. As you know, we have PLCs throughout our district where teachers get together and they plan together, they organize their lessons, and we want that for our students. Every student deserves a great teacher. So if they collaborate and they work together, then it's going to be throughout our district. The next, I'm going to jump to the next bullet, not the English learner, but the CLSD grant and letters. Those are some grants that we're working currently right now in our department. The CLSD grant is a grant that was awarded to 5 of our schools, but we decided to give it to all elementary schools. And Rockwood, they already have a grant, but they jumped into this grant. And what it is that there's trainers coming from CRLP coming to train our teachers. We have several academies going on. One is the Teacher Leadership Academy, which is for administrators and coaches. And the other one is Educators Academy, which is a group of teachers from every site. And then we have the librarian component, which is really nice. This is the first year that we really get to work with the librarians at every site, working with the teachers. And then last but not least, we also have the Pole Academy. And that was for the TK Kinder teachers. Some trainers from San Diego came to train them on strategies, how to support our incoming kinders and TK students. And they also did that same training for our parents. So we opened it twice. We didn't have a lot of parents attending the trainings, but we want to bring it back in May when we have the new enrollees, new kinder students coming in to promote literacy. So these are all the grants that we're working right now in our department. Last but not least, we're actually doing a program right now called Letters, which is an excellent program for teachers, how to teach reading. And we're also taking it because it's something that we don't learn in school, and it's very, very beneficial for our students. Because we're teaching English language learners, we need to know how they learn so we could teach them. So we have a cohort, we have 2 cohorts, 66 teachers, K all the way to high school, taking this course, and it's mind-blowing just how they're collaborating and those aha moments that we need to be very explicit when we're teaching reading. So I hope we continue with this and build another cohort for next year as other teachers come and join us. So that's it. Any questions for those 2?
Good evening, Silvia Yanez, English Language Learner Coordinator. The piece that I'm going to speak today is regarding the professional development that we provide. And so one of them has to do with the integrated ELD that is being facilitated by ICOE by the content, based on the content area and at various school sites where our teachers are also receiving integrated ELD training with our academic support teachers. Also, we're providing trainings on the English language development standards facilitated by our academic support teachers. And one of the trainings that is being facilitated by ICOE, it's for 7th and 8th grade ELD teachers. And during that training, what we do is we provide half of the day training, and then half of the day is curriculum guide. And so what they have come up, it's with a curriculum guide for the whole year. And so we're working on that. We're also providing the EL roadmap training for our administrators, ASTs, as well as for our English language intervention teachers, as well as for our English language specialists. The EL roadmap, it's a set of policies as well as best practices for English language learners adopted by California. We're also providing, regarding Elevation, we got this new platform for English language learners that help us monitor the progress of our English language learners. So it helps us to know on the platform who's making progress, who's not, or who has regressed, or for instance, who's a newcomer, at what level they're scoring, or LTELs, which are long-term English language learners, which in this case, those are ELs who have been in US for 6 years or more. And it helps us to identify real quick in a snapshot to know who they are and how they're doing. And as a matter of fact, we also are working with our EL Master Plan Committee. We have met already a couple of times this year, and we will be meeting again sometime in March to finalize our EL Master Plan. During that time, what the committee does, we review, revise if necessary, any of the work that we're doing around English language learners. The committee, it's made up of teachers from all levels, K-12. Also, we have part of the committees, our academic support teachers, our English language intervention teachers, and our EL specialists. Questions? Thank you.
And then finally, under interventions, we put in place different interventions. One of the interventions that's offered to all schools is targeted teacher tutoring. This is based on teacher participation. So we try to recruit our teachers, and if they do want to participate, you see in the employment reports all that tutoring that comes in, it's because of this need. We also want to start working with our expanded learning so that they start doing more targeted support. In order for them to do this, they also need to start having access to that data that we're collecting of those assessments so that they know exactly what are our student needs. So that's going to be like the next level of the work that we're doing with the Orenda consultants. We've hired instructional aides to be supporting our TK through second grade to help us with the interventions within the classroom and improve our literacy. We're looking at a program, we have with the county AmeriCorps, but there's another vendor that also has AmeriCorps that does a pullout of students with high needs, and they actually have a curriculum that their trained AmeriCorps have to follow. And so we're looking into that one to securing and see how we can build it within our school system so that our students throughout the day, within the day, are getting this high dose tutoring. We have, of course, our summer school and enrichment program. We're going to be focusing on interventions this coming year, and that'll be ran by our expanded learning. So teachers are going to be hired while students are in expanded learning, and they're going to be pulling students in small groups to do high dose interventions in math and language arts. And at the secondary, at the high school, we have credit recovery happening throughout the day, and also in the afternoons, and it'll happen in the summer. So this is just a few of the different interventions. Our sites are doing all kinds of interventions. I didn't list them all, but within this system that we're doing, it does involve a lot of professional development. It does involve putting systems in place so that we're all working at the same in the same process, and it does involve high responsibility and ownership of our leadership, our site administrators, and us as the district. So we are very involved with all this process, and that's why I mentioned that we're assigned to schools, we're going to their meetings, and we're doing their learning walks because we also want to be a part of this, because we are the support group for them. And I believe that was the last slide. Any questions?
Board members, any questions?
Yes, Ms. Ramirez. It's obvious that here in Flexible we're below standard. There's a need. So my question is, you talk about resources, you talk about professional development and so forth. When will we see if we're doing the right thing as far as these numbers going up?
So the summative CAS will be like your final. You'll see that in July. But right now, we're starting to look at the data that we're doing from our benchmark assessments. Well, those are the ones we're doing every 5 weeks. So we're already starting to see growth there. We could bring that information maybe after we do test number 4. When's test number 4? At the end of this month, we'll have test number 4. So we could probably have data for four sessions. On the February 23rd board meeting, I'm going to bring you dashboard information on the college and career indicator, the A through G, and all of that. But then the next board meeting, I can bring you that data from the work that we're doing with our benchmark assessments.
And parent engagement. I attended an astronomy night at Jefferson along with the superintendent. And it was incredible to see not only the kids from Jefferson there, but kids from all over our
Mhm.
district, to include parents. There must have been over 600
Yeah.
people in that what I'm getting at is maybe to entice them, give them a dinner or something so that they understand, because I mean, they're the important process of getting the scores up, correct?
Correct. And so in the past, like when we begin our LCAP, we were getting 50 to 100 parent participate and getting involved, and many of them became our current parent leaders. So one of the tasks that I gave our principals is that for this first LCAP meeting that we're having, and I also gave you a copy of the schedule, which is this one, looks like this. It has all of my LCAP meetings up to now. There's still some pending from the county that I have to add. But our first community and parent LCAP meeting is going to be next week, February the 15th. I can send you the invite of as to the times and everything for you to know where it's going to be at. But I told our administrators that they have to bring 3 parents to this first one. Because they are going to be sitting in groups, and we are going to be looking at this data that I just shared, and we do want their input, and we do want them to feel that they're very important in the work that we do. And so then for the next meeting, I want them to bring more so that we start getting our parents back to getting involved, because just like our scores were down all across, I talked to other people here in the district, they've been also struggling to get the parents to come to meetings that are of this type. They'll come to our festivities, they'll come to picnic day, they'll come to open house, back to school night. So they show up for those. But a lot of times, I don't know that they're maybe afraid of not understanding what we're doing. And when we do our LCAP meetings, we do it at a very low level so that they understand what's happening and they don't feel intimidated coming and talking with their administrator, because they are going to sit with their administrator. So we are trying our best to start bringing parents back again.
And Mr. Calderon, I want to answer your question a little bit also more directly. I actually think that with all the work that's taking place this year with educational services, with all this planning and collaborating and organizing, and with the work that our teachers are doing, like I said, everyone in this district, including all of us, our secretaries, our custodians, our administrators, our groundskeepers, everything that we all do, every outside of the classroom employee in this district lives for, and everything that we do is to support our teachers and what's taking place in the classroom, the teaching and learning process, the curriculum and instruction. And I'm very encouraged and very motivated and inspired to see that our teachers are a part of this. They're working with their administrators, with our educational services department. They're working together with their grade levels, with their departments. They want to see a difference. We all want to see a difference. So I'm going to go out and say that to answer your question directly, that we will see a positive difference in our ultimate summative assessment of the CASP, our state assessments this year. Like, when we take the test at the end of this year and the scores come out in July, we can't help but to see a positive impact, because we're doing so much work. And I do want to tip my hat off to our educational services department, because there's so much going on, and they're leading the way that I just cannot see how we cannot make progress, and I'm going to stick to that, and I know that it's going to happen, and there's going to be more progress in the year after that, and the year after that. We're not going to be satisfied, and we're not going to be content until all of our kids are exceeding to their highest potential, and our graduation rates increase and our reclassification rates increase. But I know that the work we're doing together, and the work that our teachers are doing in the classroom, and the support that we're giving everyone, I just can't see us not start showing improvements even for this 22-23 school year.
That's correct.
Did you take all that down, Janet?
It's recorded.
All right, it's recorded. All
Thank
right.
you.
Well, and I understand that, Mr. Jimenez. I mean, ultimately, that's why we're here, to make sure that every student that attends our district has a fair chance of succeeding in life. And what I'm asking is that we're investing a lot of money, and kind of the return on investment, because if the investment doesn't work, then we need to go to another investment to make sure that those graphs are meeting standards.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at.
And
Give
I mean,
us,
this is not.
give us 4 years. The process is 4
COVID
years.
COVID is gone,
Yeah.
so now let's get to work.
Elisa?
And again, thanks to all the staff for the hard work and getting things ready so we can see that investment or see the success of that investment.
I know we went to a new reading program, correct? We just changed it a couple years ago. We had a previous reading program that we had. Now we implemented a new reading program. Was done a couple
Were you
years
talking
back.
about the actual textbook or the intervention program?
I believe it was the intervention.
The
program that
intervention program that we're using is iReady.
I already correct. When did we go into that new program?
The year that COVID hit.
The year that COVID.
Yeah,
hit,
because,
correct? So we can't really see the difference between previous years and upcoming years, correct? Because of what's going on, or do we?
We could do a report, right?
Or do we have an impact of that it is doing better than our previous?
Yes, we actually have the first year that we had iReady, we did it 3 times a year, the beginning, the middle, at the end. We show growth, and it's all Common Core standard at grade level. This year, which is 21-22, last year, we went to 3 again, and then this year we had to cut it to 2. So they're taking the second one before SBAC.
Okay.
And the reason we're doing that is because teachers want to use that information to prep their kids for SBAC. So they took it at the beginning of the school year, and then they're taking it in March. So teachers are going to see the results in March and say, okay, Ms. Hurtado is missing this standard, and so they're going to, teach what they're missing. So we should have results by the end of March, April.
Okay.
So elementary.
Okay.
So-
Orenda and iReady should be meshing if we're working with standards.
Yes.
We're focusing on mapping the work and what we're going to be focused on our test. We should be making progress.
So there's 2 components of iReady, and I'm going to take a minute just to explain it. One component is actually the grade level standard. And then the second component is the intervention piece. The intervention piece is based on the student level. For example, if I'm in 3rd grade, but I'm still at a 1st grade level, my pathway is at 1st grade level. So it's giving me all those skills that I need to be able to reach 3rd grade. Then the 3rd grade pathway is the one that the teacher applies. For example, if I'm teaching standard 3.1 and the students need a little bit more practice, then I assign more practice with iReady. There's a lot of components within iReady that teachers can use to intervene, to add, to enrich. So it's just using the results from Orenda and saying, okay, Ms. Hurtado needs standard 3.1 more practice. I assign it to her. And I could be practicing on my own. And so it has a lot of components that we haven't really digged into, but I know the ASTs we've given some PD to the AST so they could go back and support their teachers during PLC. So it works hand in hand.
Thank you.
And just to share that, the reason why nationwide we're struggling with this is because if you do recall, when we did close, we were only working minimum days with our students, so we weren't able to teach all the standards. And that's why you hear a lot the learning loss. It wasn't that the students lost the learning, is that we can only Zoom so much and only provide so much standards while they were at home. And so they weren't catching up to all the standards. So now we have to come back and catch up. That's why it's been so very difficult to catch up. But we will catch up. It won't happen overnight. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that
Is this part
presentation.
of your storming, Norman? Yes, sir. Is this part of the storming?
Just part of the storming, norming, and performing.
Well, let's move on. We'll go and go to I, consent agenda. All items appearing will be acted upon by one motion without discussion unless any item is pulled for separate consideration and action. Motion by Mr. Calderon,
Second.
second by Mr. Contreras. All those in favor, please state aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. J, informational items, superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Alvarado. We just made a few comments right now about how all of what we do, all of those who are outside of the classroom are here to support what's taking place in the classroom and support the important work that our teachers are doing. And there's a lot of different groups that are involved in this. We're all part of the large group and then part of subgroups. But there's one group that's as important as the most important out there is that's our school counselors. And I want to recognize this week as the National School Counselors Week, all of our school counselors in the Calexico Unified School District for the incredible and important work that they do. Nowadays, our school counselors are not only addressing student academics, but they're also addressing social-emotional needs of the students, social-emotional needs that they may come from the family, may come from other challenges that students are facing. So to all of our Calexico Unified School District school counselors, all of our counseling staff, thank you for all you do. We couldn't do this work without you. It's difficult and complicated, complex work that you are involved, whether it's our academics, our 4-year plans, assuring that our kids are meeting their requirements to graduate from high school, to go to college, to be career ready, or supporting on social emotional needs. We appreciate you. We're grateful for all of your hard work. Keep up the great job. And this is your week. It's as a National School Counseling Week. So thank you so much. I also want to share, a little while ago, it was mentioned about our astronomy night at Jefferson Elementary School. I know several of us were there that night. Ms. Ramirez was there as well with us. Of course, Ms. Karina Montaño, all of our IT department was there, Mr. Eduardo Perez. And yes, Mr. Calderon, we had approximately 600 students and their families attend this astronomy night at Jefferson Elementary. The Jefferson Auditorium was standing room only. I've got a picture of this. There was people lining up along the walls when Ms. Montaña was doing her presentation. We want to thank our partners with Blue Dot. These are former educators that started their own organization to instill and inspire a love for astronomy and the sciences, and they come down to the Valley and Calexico Unified with their industrial grade telescopes that they could zoom in on the stars and the galaxies and the moon, and our kids are there looking into these telescopes, and while the parents and even the parents are looking, but then they project what's being viewed in real time live in these big monitors, and it's just amazing to see. I'm there looking at the moon, and then I look over at the big jumbotron there and seeing what the kids are seeing. So it's just amazing. In addition to that, our kids were able to also participate in a virtual reality space station when they put on these virtual reality goggles and they have these handles, and they're literally looks as if they're walking inside a space station up in space. And it's just they're grabbing for things and they're moving and they're like walking, and because it looks like they're inside an actual space station. There was a 3D printer where it was actually printing a 3D Pokemon or something like that was being printed. Pikachu. Wow, yeah. And but we also had our teacher there, and also had other objects, a Batman and a lion and different objects that they could do, and they're starting to build houses with 3D printers, and it's pretty amazing. I was watching it on YouTube, and this is the future and the careers of tomorrow, and this is what our kids, jobs that don't exist right now, that they're going to get to do that we couldn't even imagine in our lifetimes. They had face paintings and all that sort of stuff. So I really want to thank our staff from Educational Technology under the leadership of Ms. Montaño. I want to thank the staff of our Informational Technology with Mr. Perez, and of course our Jefferson Elementary School staff, our teachers and staff, Ms. Buenrostro, our fearless leader there, our principal at Jefferson, but even also Ms. Noriega, our principal from Mainz was there helping out, and staff from a lot of different places. So it took a village to put it together, and they did a phenomenal job. So great job with that, guys. Talking about Blue Dot this week, our students, our student interns, along with some of our IT and ed tech staff, are going to the Anza Borrego Springs State Park in Palm Springs for hiking and learning about nature and the different vegetation and all that of outdoor science learning. It's a hiking trip through Anza Borrego Springs. Our partners are going to be here to guide and lead our students through that fun activity. And I also know that Ms. Montaño will be attending as well. So she's going to be putting on her hiking boots and joining our kids in this outdoor program. I also wanted to share that two honorees that we recently had. First, wanted to share that our congratulations to Mr. John Moreno, our Director of Alternative Education, who was recently honored with the Stone of Hope Award for his service to the community. Mr. Moreno was recently presented at a banquet with this prestigious award. And just to read a short excerpt from the Imperial Valley Press, January 30, 2023 column that was written about him and the other honorees. It says, John Moreno, radio bulldog broadcasting talent is educator John Moreno. Moreno worked as a youngster at his late father's grocery store in Calexico, which led him toward life-affirming experiences. Prior to his past 28 years calling games for Bulldog Radio, Moreno gives back to his community by emceeing for parades, community events, and local Little League games. By giving back, Moreno said he feels like he is honoring his parents' legacy. People in education in various capacities, being in education in various capacities for 35 years, he hopes that by encouraging Calexico students to participate in community events, he hopes they gain a greater appreciation for the city's history, its beauty, and its challenges. I invite them to take ownership of their community, Mr. Moreno says. So congratulations to Mr. Moreno. If anybody knows Mr. Moreno, I think he is the city's and the historian for Calexico, and he could tell you when it started and when our first school was built, and everything's got pictures and all that sort of stuff. So congratulations to John. Another congratulations today is to our Association of California School Administrators, ACSA, Technology Administrator of the Year, Mr. Eduardo Perez, who's here with us today. So Eduardo has been recognized as AXA Technology Administrator of the Year for Region 18, which is not only the Imperial Valley, but it's also San Diego County. So it's a very large, a lot of competition, a lot of technology administrators out there, and our very own Eduardo, Mr. Perez, is the one who is being recognized. And I think one of the reasons why yesterday we had a little congratulations, and he said in front of here of the DO staff, he says, you know, I don't feel I'm that great. I really don't. I just try to help, and I try to do my best job every day, and I try to do it with a smile. And I said, well, no, that's why you are that great, because you're humble, and nevertheless you work hard and you try to help people every day, and you try to do your best every day. And to give you a sense of some of Eduardo's accomplishments. In the 7 years he has served as our coordinator of IT, Calexico Unified went from approximately 1,500 devices a day connected to our Wi-Fi network to a current 5,000 to 7,000 devices connecting every single day. Not only expanding our Wi-Fi connectivity, but maintaining this connectivity takes a lot of work, planning, and organization, and Eduardo and his team do it with a high level of customer service, commitment, and quality. So congratulations to Mr. Perez and our IT department for that recognition. We heard a little bit right now about our AVID academic support. This week, our curriculum coordinators and AVID academic support teachers held our mid-year secondary AVID workshop, similar to the one done with elementary last week. Every secondary site brought its team that consisted of the site principal or admin designee and AVID teachers. The teams presented their glows and their grows, and it was great to hear about the amazing work they are doing and reflect on the work that they still are working on. Our teams had to reflect on the following essential questions throughout the day. How do high-functioning AVID teachers strengthen AVID implementation, thus achieving collective educator agency, improving student outcomes, and ensuring college and career readiness for all students? The teams also had to review their progress on the coaching and certification instruments, CCI, as well as their site goal articulation guide through the lens of rigor. Last two here. This Saturday, San Diego State University Imperial Valley campus, just a few blocks away from us, is hosting their first annual 5K color run walk. Registration is still open. Students can go online to register. I think it's a $25 registration. Registration also starts that morning at 7 in the morning. I believe the event starts at 8 in the morning. But it's going to be a fun event for a great cause. Our proceeds go to the San Diego State University Associated Student Body for their events and activities. So we're trying to form a stronger partnership and collaboration with our local San Diego State University campus here, that a lot of our students don't even know we have this gem within our very own community. So if you're up for a morning walk or a run, join the Aztecs this Saturday for their first annual marathon, I think I could call it, right? Or something like that. So President Alvarado, that concludes my comments. Our next board meeting will be held Thursday, February 23rd. May you all have a wonderful weekend. And you know what? I'm going to throw in Monday, so take Monday off. Have a wonderful 3-day weekend.
So that's generous of you.
Thank you. I'm always asked if I could give people a day off, so I'm just decided, you know what? Let me give them this Monday off.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So we're gonna jump from number 2 to number 3. Wait for Mr. Calderon to get back. So we'll jump to the number 3 safety committee.
Good evening, trustees, administrative team, staff, and community. Congratulations, Mr. Pacheco and Mr. Contreras. I haven't had the chance to, well, Mr. Pacheco, I know you very well. Thank you very much. Mr. Contreras, congratulations. I am Alejandra Limon, and I am the safety coordinator, Title IX coordinator, and public information officer for the district. February is a very, very hectic month for us in the sense that we are working on our comprehensive school site plans, the safety plans. So I have been meeting with the principals and with the community, with the police department, to make sure that our plans for the following year are updated. We've met with the police department, with Chief Serrano, regarding our active shooter drills and our tactical responses. So they are providing us with feedback. And then we are also working with our principals. We've been working with them every Friday. And then tomorrow, we'll be meeting with our district safety committee, which is composed of teachers from every site and community members and other staff and administrators to review all of our plans. So tomorrow, the entire day will be focused on the comprehensive safety plans. And then those are all due by by the beginning of March. So March 1st, they all have to be reviewed by all school site councils. And then in March, I bring it to the board. Okay. So they're looking good. We're still working on them, but we're getting some really good plans out there. In regards to naloxone, that's the opiate overdose medication, we have received 80 new units. So we are now in a program with the state where we can order units whenever we need to. We have to keep those inventoried, but our plan is to get more of those units out, especially at the high school. Not that we're having overdoses, but we want to be prepared. So we would like to have all of our proctors trained, campus security. We'd like to have all of our campus security trained and make sure that our administrators are trained as well, and that we have units in our buildings so that they're accessible. When we deliver this type of medication, it has to be within the first 5 to 8 minutes, so we have to get to it quickly. So that's the plan, to have more of these units out there. Currently, all of our school sites have these with the health tech. So all of our sites have that. Now we have more, and we can continue to apply for more as the year progresses if needed. School resource officer, we have been working, Mr. Jimenez and I, with the chief of police. About a week ago, we are in the process of finalizing the MOU to be brought forth with the city council and then also with you for approval. And then hopefully the goal is to get someone on board by April, más o menos.
Right.
That's the goal. Hopefully
Yeah.
sooner.
And I do have an update, Alex, that even you don't know about this. So I do want to thank Alex for being our liaison with safety and our CPD partners. But just today, Chief Serrano did send me a version of our MOU that I think we're there.
Good.
Just need to do like a final review, and I think after a little bit of going back and forth, and of course we want to partner, and with this we're serving our same community, or our students are their residents are our students. We're in this together, and I'm very excited because Chief Serrano and Sergeant Legaspi have been true professionals and very supportive of this process, and we're really looking forward to partnering with our city, for bringing an SRO and this added layer of safety and security to our school district. So I think we're very, very close, if not there already, as of today. So I want to thank the city, and I want to thank Chief Serrano and his staff for working on this with us.
So that's awesome news. That's great for me too. And then continuing after that great news, canine visits. We have had continuous canine visits. We had a total of 8 visits, but within those 8 visits, they visit more than one site. So they'll visit maybe 2 sites one time, another 3 sites another time. They focus on the high school and the junior highs, which is where we usually have more of the issues with vapes and different things like that. Those visits have been going very well. We've been seeing less and less, at least when they visit. I hope that continues. So they will be with us for the rest of the year. Our campus security, they are currently finishing up their training for SB 390. We're going through Sebron University. And so once they're done, this is a 20-hour training. It's for school security. And at the end, they receive a certificate, and this complies with the California requirement. So all of our proctors, they're doing this after hours. It is an online course. And so at the end, and Mr. Velez is doing this course, and I'm doing this course also. Yes, we're all going to be, trained. My goal is to also start including some of the junior high. This will be next year. So start working with some of the junior high staff. Not the school security, they're already included, but some of the administrators, so that they understand what the expectations are of our campus security, okay? And then standard response protocol training, we are now in the reunification phase. So our next training will be April 18th and 19th, and that is an actual, the first day is training, the second day is actually working on it and having scenarios. And then our district safety committee, again, will be working with them tomorrow. And the district parent safety committee will be having a meeting with them on the 24th. And during that time, we're going to be going over our discipline policies, our suspension and expulsion policies, what the process is, and what our data looks like in the area of any type of discipline issue per site. So we do look at those things. They also have contributed to our comprehensive safety plan. So they let us know, yeah, that's a good idea. No, Ms. Simone, we need more of this. And so they're a great group. I have representation from most of the sites, and I really enjoy working with them. And that's all I have for now. Do we have any
Okay.
questions? Anything?
Any questions?
Regarding the K-9, did we find anything?
Occasionally you do. It's usually not necessarily, it's usually like residue. Thank you. It's usually residue, vapes. You know, usually they find vapes, but like I said, it's usually residue. Nothing of concern that I can see yet. You know, but we have those reports. If you'd like to see those reports, Mr. Calderon, I'd be happy to sit with you. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Limon. We'll jump back to number 2, ROP committee.
Well, thank you, Mr. Alvarado, and thank you for joining us tonight. We have our meeting until next week, but I do want to inform our audience and our community that we are having that law enforcement competition. We have had a meeting, so hopefully we can iron out what the guidelines are going to be and so forth. IVROP staff are taking the lead, and the reason why they're taking the lead is to make it fair for those districts that show up. So they have a fair shake at it. The reason why we're holding this competition is to showcase our O-course and also our simulator. I think that our community should know what we have, especially our law enforcement agencies that are going to be invited to come and attend. And not only that, but also show our kids that there is pathways that they can go. We're probably going to have CDCR, the sheriffs, CHP, and so forth. And this competition, hopefully, will be taking part in April. We don't have a date yet, but hopefully by next meeting, we'll set the date, and we'll know how many districts are going to participate in the competition. And that's all I have.
Thank you. That sounds great. Number 4, LCAP committee.
Good evening again. Just to reaffirm that next week, we just began what we call LCAP season. So I've been going to a lot of LCAP meetings at the county, but now it's my turn to meet with our different educational partners. So I did share that the first one is next week with our parents. It's going to be on the 15th at Willie Moreno, and it'll be at 5:30. Then the following week will be in the middle of the community, which will be at Rockwood. So that's on the 21st, and that's also at 5:30. And then the last week in February will be at Jefferson, which is on this side of our community. And I will be meeting also the next 2 weeks with our union partners, because that's also part of the educational partners. And then in March, I'll bring you the rest of the meetings that I'm having with other educational partners. Thank you. Willie Moreno Junior High School at 5:30.
And the 21st at Rockwood.
21st at Rockwood, which is the middle of town, and then the 28th at Jefferson. All at 5:30.
Thank you, Mr. Ramirez.
You bought T-shirts, $6,000 worth of T-shirts for LCAP students?
Not for students. The schools have LCAP funds, so they might have bought T-shirts as incentives for students. It could have been. Well, usually what I buy for the LCAP meetings is incentives for our parents to come. So usually we'll give them a little token, a lanyard with the name of the district, and then we provide daycare for their children. And so we buy materials and supplies for students, and then we provide them dinner too. So if you see anything for the LCAP meetings, it's usually incentives for parents with supplies, meals, and so forth. But in the LCAP plan, we have funds for incentives for college and career, for attendance, for whatever rewards they're giving. So you might have seen, it might have been a school that ordered T-shirts for their students.
And Mr. Pacheco, this
Yeah.
was in the pre-list?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just next time we'll just bring it up on the pre-list. That's an item we could pull that we could go ahead. No, correct, but that's an item that we're gonna discuss on the pre-list. That's why we ask if there's any item to be pulled, we'll pull it there and we'll discuss
Yeah, and we
it.
can provide, I
in the
just need to
previous-
know what,
yeah,
what
correct.
site used it and for what purposes, but we keep track of all of that too.
Thank you. 5 board reports, Sarai.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. Well, first of all, I just want to congratulate the girls wrestling who got into CIS, I believe. Also, yesterday we had, I think it was the first pep rally at night for the high school. And, well, unfortunately, I couldn't attend, but I heard a lot of reviews and it sounded very fun. This upcoming Saturday, we have the winter formal for the high school. And as of today, I think during both lunches, they presented the homecoming court. So I congratulate them for like winning their court. And well, I have seen around the school many clubs about mental health awareness and spreading love and kindness to everybody. And I really like this part of the school and opening up these new clubs because after quarantine, well, I experienced a lot of mental health issues, and well, these kind of like help a lot to people or students who are currently going through something. And well, I also saw this new club opening up. I think it's something about religion, and I really like it because it allows students to not be scared to express that they're in a religion just because of school or a public school. And well, I have felt this before, and I feel like I'm more free to express myself in my religion. And I hope everybody's doing well and have a good night.
Thank you for that, Sarai. Mr. Calderon.
Thank you, Mr. Alvaro, and thank you for the report. Again, good evening, everyone. As I mentioned before, I did get an opportunity to attend the astronomy night at Jefferson School, and to see that there was no parking available, that was the first challenge. And then when the hot dog line was incredible, it's like, unfortunately, we did it at Blanche and we ran out of hot dogs, and again we ran out of hot dogs at Jefferson. So whoever's organizing it needs to get more hot dogs. Okay?
We did
Double.
we did double it. We
Oh, yeah, well.
went up from 150 to 300 hot dogs, and
Yeah.
we still ran out. So
Well, we need more, Mr. Jimenez. At least that's what the parents said. All right.
Okay.
All right. And again, I mean, the turnout with the parents and students, I mean, it was great to see that they were active with all these things that they had there for them, and they were there. And again, they wanted that 3D printer to get them the Pikachus and so forth. So it's great to see it. I'd like to thank the staff and Blue Dot for the organization. I think it's incredible. And if you ever have a chance when they're here, take advantage of it. I mean, there is life outside this world here, so take advantage of it. Again, one thing that I learned about it is that sky is the limit. And if we're doing these things for our kids, I mean, they can go anywhere with this. The other thing that I learned was equality. And Mr. Jimenez can attest to this, is that we had a young student that approached us in the 3D printer, and she goes, "Hey, I can't believe that my prima at Cesar Chavez has this, and we don't have it at Jefferson." So what I'm getting at is that hopefully what we have at Cesar, and I believe there's another school with 3D printers, that Jefferson, Maines, and all the other elementaries get the same opportunity to explore these I guess futuristic pathways. So again, thank you to everybody. Congratulations. I mean, there's a lot of congratulations today. Mr. Bernal was awarded the most wins in soccer. So since I've been on the board, this individual has taken our soccer team to the CIF, I don't know how many times. And as a matter of fact, I believe he has another trip going to the CIF. Again, he was, I guess, presented with a certificate or something. This will happen somewhere in San Diego. And again, thank you, thank you, Mr. Bernal, for your hard work and dedication in getting our boys ready for these soccer tournaments. I also attended the boys basketball, and I think Mr. Contreras was there. You guys, if you're watching, that was a good game. I mean, it was good. It was to the end, and unfortunately they lost, but they gave it a good hard competition to the El Centro Spartans. So again, congratulations. And then she just mentioned the wrestlers. The wrestlers are also doing well. I mean, we have a lot of athletes that are doing well, and also these athletes have 4.0s or higher. So that's something to be commended, to be able to practice and maintain their GPLs. Congratulations to John Moreno. I go back. I mean, I was 13, 1976. When I first started working for Super Shopping. I think a lot of us worked at that stores. And again, congratulations. He is a historian, and he is from Calexico. And again, Eddie, congratulations. And that only attributes to your hard work. And I'm going to tell everyone that when we brought the vision of our computers, Eddie did not say, no se puede. He said, let's do it. And I can attest to it because Eddie made it happen. Our kids have computers now, and when COVID hit, our students didn't miss a beat. And why? Because it was Eduardo and his team that made it happen. And we had our computers ready, and we went to work. So again, Eddie, thank you for the hard work. I questioned you a lot on the fiber optic, but now I know why it's important. Again, thank you, and thank your staff for all the work they do every day for us. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you
Mr.
for that,
Romero.
Mr. Calderon. Mr. Calderon, did you get a Pikachu also as well, or no?
No, I had to compete with a third grader, so I figured I'd let her have it.
Mr.
But it's
Contreras?
interesting to see that they're making houses out of these printers. They bring these big printers, and they can make a house, 2-bedroom, bath, and everything. And they said they're very durable. So maybe whoever is thinking of investing, maybe they can make some houses to try them out. All right.
President
That's all right.
Alvarado, he didn't get a Pikachu, but we did hook him up with the hot dog.
Yeah.
So, que no diga que
It's
no.
good to know the cook.
Well, thank you for your report, Mr.
All right.
Contreras.
Yes.
Yeah, so I want to thank the LCAP for the presentation that you gave us and stuff. I know that assessments are something that is constant, and when we regress, it seems that is when we don't do it often enough. And so that's what my question in that area was. Are we doing it multiple times to kind of figure out where we're at the beginning, where we're at the end? But I think with the other assessments that you're doing, you're taking care of a lot of that, and everything is there for improvement. And I thank you for that. I see Mr. Velez here today, and I want to thank him for having given me the opportunity last year to coach basketball at Calexico High School. And then this year, again, I was a volunteer for the JV team. The boys are doing really well. I think Coach Hugo Estrada has done a terrific job, even though they keep on quoting him as Hugo Ortega, but it's Hugo Estrada, right, on the newspaper. But I think they're doing a terrific job. He has taken them from a Division 4 to a Division 1, so the competition gets tougher every year, and he keeps on preparing the kids just as well as, the other coaches in soccer in other areas. And, I think sometimes we take sports a little bit lightly, but a lot of our participants that are playing sports, a lot of our kids that are playing sports are doing terrific jobs. If you ever go to a banquet and then you see how many of them are getting the patch for the academic, right? You understand that, they're putting in a lot of work with the school, and they're putting a lot of work with their sport. And, getting into this CIF, when you're competing up in San Diego and locally, it's a tough deal. And I think, every single sport that we have a lot of kids that are responsive. We have a lot of coaches that are responsive, and I think we just need to keep on building on that. And thank you all.
Thank you for that, Mr. Contreras. Mr. Pacheco?
chance to go to the lunch period at the high school to see how the lunch ran, and I was looking at, making sure that the food was for everybody, and they keep telling me, no, hay suficiente comida, but they don't like it, they throw it away, they just get it and take whatever they want and dump the rest, so there's plenty of food, but if they run out of pizza or the cheeseburger, then they're out, they're not gonna go up, but there's plenty of food, I was told, so I got a chance to go and watch the lunch line. No hot dogs. No hot dogs. Lot of food, yeah. I've been reading about the academic, the decathlon that was taking place by the county, and Calexico didn't participate. We've got plenty of kids that would like to compete in that part for the county, and I think Imperial won, or I think it was Imperial, but we have students, we just needed some guidance and get some teachers to volunteer to take part of that process and that program so we can compete, give these kids a chance to showcase what they know. We've got all these kids in AP classes that I'm sure would love to be in that type of competition, but maybe next year. Food for thought.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We've got the students, we've got the athletics, we need the academics.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Well, thank you for that, Mr. Pacheco. As far as for me, just want to thank our counselors for everything that you do. Along the same lines as rest of our colleagues. Thank you, Eduardo, for everything you do, and it is true. It's a true testament. I remember when I first got on board, it's service with a smile, and that's something that you can't deny it. It's every time we ask you to do something, it's you just give us that smile that you always give, and you go out and do it. And I thank you for that. Thank you for everything you do, and thank you to your team, because you know what, it's a true testament. What you nurture in your department, it moves along to the rest of your people that you have working underneath you and stuff like that. And it's thank you for everything that you guys do for us. Mr. Moreno, can't say enough. Even though I wasn't a graduate from Calexico, I do recall running into him every now and then as far as that goes. And thank you for everything that he does for this district also as well. And there was a couple of other things I was going to say, but let's go ahead and start off with our meeting, and enjoy the rest of the night. Let's go ahead and start off with Kay. Or you know what, Kay, we're going to go ahead and bring it back because that was put on by Ms. Magallanes, so we're going to go ahead and bring that back. We'll go ahead and move on to L, discussion. 1, caregiver affidavit status.
I put that on. There's a form that we use, Mr. Jimenez. It's called the HH1. And what this does is it allows students to stay with either an aunt, an uncle, somebody that's related to the student coming from Mexicali. They do this on an annual basis. And there's other forms. There's a form U and an HH1, caregiver, caretaker. On the form, I don't see the words or a sentence stating that the student needs to be residing here and not crossing the border. It looks like I walk my 2 dogs, 6:15, 6:30, 6:40, and I cut through San Diego State in the park, and I see this little trail of hormiguitas coming across, and of course I know where they're headed. We're going to school. So either we're not following, or they're afraid not to stay in Calexico, which somebody has said he's going to stay with me. I'm signing, here's my affidavit, this is going to be notarized, but they are not staying with that family. Is there anything, what is the challenge here for us?
Right. I think that the challenge are some of the laws, that we're required to, of course, comply with. We do require all students to verify their address. And we do have the HH1 form that we, keep on file, and we do renew every year. That is why that is part of the reason why sometimes students have to, transfer schools, is because one year they might show an address living in this school of residence, and then next year they move to another. They're renting a different house or apartment or move to a different part of town. We do deny enrollment when documentation is insufficient, when they can't provide us documentation filling out the HH1. The person who lives there has to verify, yes, indeed, this family, this child, or child lives with me, because there is a law that the student can be living with an adult, a caretaker. Doesn't necessarily have to be mom or dad. And so as long as they're living with a caretaker and that caretaker confirms that they live in their residence, then of course they become our students, and we need to provide them a FAPE, a free and public education. We do submit a 3-day notice to come and verify when students have not provided sufficient evidence of their address and where they're living and whom they're living with, which again includes verification from the person who owns the home or is the owner of the lease of that home, apartment or whatnot. So it could be a garage, it could be an AUD type of a situation, a bedroom inside of the house. But if they don't provide verification, we say we kind of like a 3-day pay or quit type of a thing. Show us verification, or we're going to have to deny your enrollment in our schools. What we don't do unless we receive a complaint, unless we receive some type of notice, is that we are not out there investigating students. We can't do that. We can't go out, and if someone tells us, the student doesn't live there, then we could go out based on that information and do a house visit and say, hey, we just want to make sure that this child lives here. If sometimes the person will say they used to live here, but they don't live here anymore. And then we follow the process of calling the parents and saying, we understand that you don't live at the address where you filled out the form. Are you living somewhere else within the city, within the district? Because you need to either update your documentation, or we're going to need to deny your enrollment in the district. So it's a very sensitive balance. It is very they're as educators, we see them that when they're here, they're ours, unless there's a reason why they can't be, right? And that's how we view all of children from anywhere they may come from. Yes, they do need to show proof that they live in Calexico, but once they're able to do that, we take that as a fact, unless it is reported otherwise.
If we find out when a kid gets sick and the school nurse makes a visit, that's when we find out.
Right.
They're not, viven, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No. Which calls to mind, I was at the high school and I got the opportunity to select the students that were going to be they used to be Valley Victoria. Well, this individual stated that she loved being here and that she had to get up at 4:30 every day to cross the border to come to school. And that just hit a nerve with me, because here she was stating that she's coming across the border, and yet she was one of these academic leaders, and she was really high GPA and going to go to the east for college, and yet here stating that I get up at 4:30 to cross the border to come to school. I just felt bad about the sentence and it was being referred to, and that's another thing. It's just they fall through the cracks. I mean, we can't police everybody, but when it's like that, we should have did something. I don't know, but if you want to get up at 6:30 in the morning and go to the park and go to San Diego State, you can catch our fellow students crossing and even having breakfast at McDonald's, because they like to come a little late to the morning and they're having breakfast at McDonald's.
Yeah.
So It's never ending. We're a border town, that's what it is, but we just need to be a little more, cognizant of the fact that some of these kids are not staying in Calexico Monday night through Thursday night. They're just transporting during the week.
And I think you're gonna run into some, with the federal educational code, you're gonna run into some issues with it, if we try to enforce something, because any kid, any U.S. citizen kid that considers himself homeless within the area of Calexico, you can't verify their residence, right? But you cannot deny them services.
Right.
So, if they have to go home in Mex, right, to go sleep, and that's a safety factor for that kid. And you run into those type of issues with them and stuff, and sometimes it's just they're gonna exceed in certain things.
Right.
Yeah, and can I add something real quick?
Yes.
And it's true, just what you stated right now, Mr. Contreras, because somebody's means could be different from somebody else's means. You know what I mean? We don't know financially how they are, stuff like that, as far as what's that goes. So we're just gonna open up a whole hornet's nest if we dive into and stuff like that. And that's the thing about it. If they are U.S. citizens, we can't deny them education. We can't. I mean, and how are we going to go ahead and be doing that? Have somebody out there, standing out there? I just don't feel comfortable with that, as far as that goes. So,
I'm just saying, what can we do? We find out when the nurse makes a home visit.
Right.
And that's one way, but it's just something that I see. Of course, everybody's case is different, but
Right.
when they sign an HH1, that means you're staying with somebody in the U.S.
Right, and like I said at the beginning, we're in compliance with the law, as Mr. Contreras says. Even with the McKinney-Vento bill, which is our homeless student, bill that gives rights to homeless families, citizens or not. They could be residents and not citizens, but they also have rights. Well, so I understand the sensitivity of it. I understand that it's a very delicate balance between us as educators and not enforcers, because we want to educate whoever walks in through our doors, regardless of their race, ethnicity, creed, religion, sexual orientation, gender. We want to educate our students because when they're here with us, they're ours. However, like I said, if we do learn of there's issues, sometimes homeless students have the best attendance, or because that being at school is the best place they could be at throughout their day. That's the children of poverty have the best attendance because that breakfast, that lunch that they get at school is the best meal they're going to get that whole entire day. And not only the best meal, but the only meal. We know that kids, many of our kids, they're after 11, 12 o'clock that day when they have lunch, their next meal is not going to come back until breakfast the next morning. There is no dinner. There is no, evening snack for some of our kids. So I understand the sensitivity of it. My professional, take on this is when they're here, we're gonna do everything within our power for all of our students. If something arises that we need to then address, whether it is their enrollment, their attendance, their behavior, their whatever, then we'll address it accordingly. But while they're here, they belong to us, and we're going to do everything we can for them. Yes, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Jimenez, for your input. And let me tell you, I value all of your input and everything. We're going to have a retreat pretty soon. And if that's what you want to do, we'll bring it up during our retreat. I value everyone's input here, but I think we have to complete this meeting. We got people that need to go home and so forth. And let's take it to that retreat. I mean, that's my suggestion, but.
No, we're not going to solve the problem right then, and I just want to bring it up. Every morning, it's what I see, and I just,
We'll move on to number 2. I believe that's yours also as well, 2022 reclassified
And
students.
we got a report on it.
Yeah.
It was, I think, 7.5, 7 point. Yeah.
We're good?
We got it.
So let's go ahead and move to M. Action items, consideration, action, approval of the following items. 1, agreement between Calexico Unified School District and Imperial County Office of Education to provide trainings on EL Roadmap Principle 2 for the implementation of the Early Literacy Block Grant for Rockwood Elementary staff.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Motion by Mr. Calderon, second by Mr. Pacheco. All in favor, please state aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 5-0. 2, agreements between Calexico Unified School District and the California Association for Bilingual Educators for Project to Inspire program for parent engagement.
So move.
Second. Motion by Mr. Calderon, second by myself. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. 3, agreement between Calexico Unified School District and Cone Incorporated for elevator testing and inspection services at Calexico High School.
I motion to approve with a question.
All second.
Mr. Ocampo, is this just maintenance or are we continuing to have problems with our elevators?
Thank you for licensing. The annual.
Or
Sorry,
just
good
in-
evening, board members and staff. Daniel Campo, Director of Maintenance. This was testing to get the certification for every 3 years.
Okay. All
So
right.
this is only testing. There's no problems with the elevator.
Thank you.
This is a mandatory state requirement that it gets tested for the 3-year certification.
And ever since we've gotten them also as well, they've been doing nothing but pretty excellent service, correct, Cone?
Yes, Cone has been a good
All right. So,
good provider.
good to go.
Right, motion by Mr. Calderon, seconded by myself. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. 4, agreement between Calexico Unified School District and Advanced Sports Technology Incorporated for mental toughness trainings for Calexico High School athletes.
I motion to approve with a question too.
I'll second.
What is this? I mean, toughness or what is it?
Let me ask Mr. Mariano Velez to provide us information on this.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all good, but I just want to know what it is because.
Yeah. Yeah, good evening, board members, community members. It's actually, our athletes know it as the Championship Mindset Program. It was piloted last year with our girls basketball and girls softball teams, and it's going to carry over into this year. What it is, it's a program that helps them develop the mental tenacity to compete at a high level, but those skills also transfer into the educational realm. It includes a parent component as well as a coaching component, and because a lot of our athletes play multiple sports, it's sort of spilled over into volleyball and swim and track and whatnot. For last year's program and girls basketball, it helped develop a very young rebuilding team into a competing team who now stand a chance to actually earn a playoff berth this year. And for last year's softball team, who basically ran through league all the way through CIF undefeated, and now have a chance to double down and take CIF again this year. So it's a really good program, and it's paid off dividends for our program so far.
Thank you. That's all I wanted to.
So we have a
Yeah, all right.
motion by
Thank you.
Mr. Calderon, seconded by myself. All
Thank
those in
you.
favor, please state aye.
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 Motion passes 5-0. 5, agreement between Calexico Unified School District and Pixelbyte Solutions Incorporated for the purchase and installation of vaping sensors at Calexico High School and Calexico High School 9th grade.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Pacheco, seconded by Mr. Contreras. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. 6, agreement between Calexico Unified School District and Western Environmental and Safety Technologies, LLC, for environmental consultation services and sampling analysis district-wide.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Mr. Pacheco, seconded by myself. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Number 7, agreement between Calexico Unified School District and Sign Factory to provide labor for parts replacement at Calexico High School 9th grade marquee.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Contreras, seconded by Mr. Pacheco. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. 8, agreement between Calexico Unified School District and Imperial Valley ROP for live scan fingerprinting services.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Calderon, seconded by Mr. Pacheco. All those in favor, please state aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Number 9, RFP award and agreement approval between Calexico Unified School District and Gigacom for E-rate service for wireless system services.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Calderon, seconded by Mr. Pacheco. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Number 10, bid award and agreement approval between Calexico Unified School District and Oakview Construction for the interim housing for Measure Q site improvements for relocatable classrooms at Calexico High
Call the
School.
question.
So, yeah, go ahead. You call for questions. so.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, There's a couple of things in the contract that we see in there. We're going for the $4,356,000. There's a couple of things in the contract that I think we need to kind of come back and review it before we put it out there. And the first one is on the liquidated damages, section 6 of that particular contract, where it says that we're looking for them to pay for every day that they go over the 90 days, only $500, right? And it doesn't stipulate that it's not a penalty or anything like that, but it doesn't allow us to recover any lost cost at that point. My math says that $4.3 million in 90 days, they're making $48,400 a day. So my suggestion would be to put a $25 per that day that is missed, because any large company could afford to lose $500.
Well,
Right.
you're saying 5%, correct?
Yeah, 25% of
Okay.
the daily cost.
Can I add something real quick? And that was something that was mentioned during the gender review,
Mhm.
was that we had previously informed staff that we would not be looking at anything with $500 liquidated damages. I'm talking about the previous board.
Mhm.
I know you and Mr. Pacheco weren't here in previous, but Mr. Calderon could attest to we notified our staff for that, correct? Mr. Calderon?
Yes, sir. You're correct.
So my suggestion is just to go ahead and pull the item into
Well,
the
let me-
next meeting if possible, to take a look at the, making some modifications to that contract, because I think within the contract, I didn't see anything on the warranties or days that they go over. They should be a cost in there for any damages or corrections, because I know that's kind of what we've been doing over here with the other site. There's also a clause that needs to include something on the daily maintenance and cleanings and upkeeping of the work area that reduces accidents and any destruction of the area. That would also have that cost. Because I think a lot of it is going to be a safety factors, but I think at $4.3 million, I think we could hold the company responsible for being responsible.
How many bids were actually submitted, Mr.
So there were only 2 bids submitted, Mr. Pacheco. The second bid was $1.3 million above this bid. I completely understand the board's concerns, and I'll share that moving forward.
Can I answer that? Can I answer that?
Sure.
Mr. I'm sorry to interrupt, but
No,
I
go
mean,
ahead.
I like Mr. Alvarado said and Mr. Contreras, I hear what you're saying. I mean, because here we're about to embark in the biggest construction that this district has ever had. And this has to be according to the schedule. To pull this item would only delay everything else. And I know that $500 is nothing. I agree with you that we should supposed to be charging them accordingly. I mean, $5 is a walk in the park for these companies. So to table it, that would mean that it would delay everything else. And I understand.
Yeah, I think currently it throws it off 2 weeks if
Well,
we table it,
I
because
would
we
hope.
have a follow-up
Yeah.
meeting. I think it's up to it's up to our interest
Yeah.
to make sure that we're taking care
Well,
of.
and I'm going
what
to
we
tell you
have.
a little bit of experience because we've been through this back and forth. It was a bid. There was a bid done, and the bid was bidded the way it reads now. So most likely, we would have to go rebid again because we're going to have to rewrite the whole bid.
I don't think you're rewriting the whole bid. I think you're just rewriting the part of the contract where they're signing
if
for
I
that
could add-
And it
penalty.
falls, Mr. Contreras, and again, I mean, I don't want to debate this. I understand where you're coming from, but once the bid is out, at least from past experiences, I mean, you have to, if you're going to change something, especially this year, because then you have insurances that are covering the project and so forth. And because the insurance already said, all right, I'll cover you for that project, means that that's what it said. And I know 500, I get you 110% because we should be charging more. And to make sure that the timelines that they are telling us are gonna take place, because that means the rest of the buildings and everything that's coming behind it is gonna be on time. And again, I mean, unless I'm wrong, Mr.
No, and
Jimenez,
if I could add something, Mr. Calderon, that I think could help Mr. Contreras in this decision-making process. So I completely understand your concern, Mr. Contreras, and I know that my recommendation is moving forward. We could definitely do something with our liquidated damages rates, right? We could do a sliding scale, for example, that anything from 0 to 5 million, we're going to charge so much in liquidated damages. From 5 million to 10 million, it's going to be, you know, 3,000. From 10 million to 20,000, it'll be 5,000. Whatever numbers we could come up, working with our experts, working with our attorneys and whatnot. We actually did ask Oakview Construction, the owner, that we wanted to amend the bid. And with them, they're the awardees. They were the best responsive bidders, and we wanted to amend the bid. Initially, it's like, I'm confident with what we're going to do. I don't have an issue. We're a good construction company. We're going to get our job done. But when he checked with his surety company, with his bonding company, the bonding company said, we will not bond you. And what we had said, we were going to increase it from 500 to 1,500 a day. The bonding company said, we will not bond you. We will withdraw our bonding of your project because the risk is too high for us. It's an insurance company, and it's how for them. It's a risk analysis, and it's a risk loss analysis. So Mr. Calderon is absolutely right about our timeline right now, Mr. Contreras, because, for example, after here tonight, tomorrow we're going to start working on 2 more bids for this project. Now, this is just the interim housing. It's not the full buildings and construction and all that stuff. It's just the interim housing. So then we still have to have a 30-day bidding for the raw removal, for the people that are going to come in and take out bad soil. That's we're required to do. And then also another bid for what I call the Mayflower movers, right? The people are going to come in and help move all the furniture and books and everything that has to be removed out of the buildings that are going to be demolished and into the interim housing that's going to take place. Part of the soil that is contaminated is actually in the path of travel, where we have to bring in all the heavy machinery, the new portable classrooms, where we're going to have to move. But we can't even start doing that because now it's considered part of the construction project until that part of that soil is moved out of that path of travel. So it is a domino effect, and I totally get it, Mr. Contreras. And if I could ask you to trust me on this one, and know that moving forward we will address your concerns that you mentioned right now. But my concern is we have such a small window in the summer. We got to start doing things right now. So June 13th, June 12th is the last day of school for kids and staff. June 13th, we're moving in tractors and machinery. We're blocking off for the dust and doing all that sort of stuff for the raw removal of the contaminated soil on June 13th. And if we miss this window, we won't be able to do it before kids come back. Because it'll push it back even by 2 weeks or 3 weeks. We absolutely have to do it when there's nobody there. So on this one, Mr. Contreras, I would highly ask for your support on this one, that we approve this tonight with the direction to me and to staff that moving forward, we're going to have a different process in reviewing our bids and talking with the board about our bids, and making sure that we're on the same page with our bid terms and conditions, and definitely also looking at our at our liquidated damages and making sure that they are commensurate and appropriate to the type of and the cost of the project that we're engaging in.
Yeah, because all the same things that you brought up, the concerns that you brought up, Mr. Contreras, I brought them up during the agenda review. I didn't go up to the 25% as you did. What I did is I divided it I came up with 10%, because 10% would be about 4,700, something around there, right? So that's the reason why I did that. My question is, and that's what I want to find out after we do, this next is, who's the one that came up with this actual contract? That's why I want to find out who came up with this contract.
Because I mean, I think
they
by
were-
us not, I'm sorry, but I think by us not doing it now, I think we
No,
move
no.
into the phase of self-insuring whatever their bonding company doesn't cover.
Correct. But my thing is, I want to find out who came up with this contract, because they were notified before you guys even came on board that we were not going to approve anything with over, the $500. We weren't going to approve it anymore. And we were under that understanding. And for them to present something like this to me, like during the agenda review, I brought this up. And that's the reason why, Mr. Jimenez went out and talked to the company. The company gave him that response back. So he is going to do some follow-up with to see with the insurance company, see if that's accurate, because I'm not going to leave this as the way it is. There is going to be just leave it as that. But the item is on the floor. I'm going to make a motion to approve as is, even though I don't want to. But I'm going to make a motion to approve it.
I'll second it, Mr. Alvarado, but with the same token as Mr. Jimenez just said, that we instruct our staff that we come up with some table or whatever, matrix, so because you have two more bids coming up, that we have them ready, so when we put the bids out, we already know how much we're gonna get for liquidation,
Liquidated
damages
damages.
and so forth. Because this is not the first time this comes up. This has come up various times, and you know what? You're absolutely right, Mr. Alvarado. This needs to stop. We need to be proactive and put on the bid, and if they want to bid, they can bid. If not, they can go somewhere else. But I think it's important, and I think this should be done as soon as possible, because we got two other bids coming up within 30 days. And that's all I have. Thank you.
So there's a motion by myself, seconded by Mr. Calderon. With that said, all those in favor, please state aye.
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 No.
Okay, so we have four ayes and one no.
Yeah, it passes.
It passes. Thank you for that. Number 11, approval of 2021-22 school accountability report cards, SARC for all schools in Calexico Unified School District.
So move.
Just have a question though.
Go ahead.
When the school sites say this is what our ELA score is, our math score and our science score, what was the test given? What was that one?
That was the one. All right, Mr. Pacheco. The presentation I was just giving right now.
Part of that one? Because these are different, each school site, of course, scores below 25 percentile, 14, ELA 17.7, 11.5, 13.3. It's still below the 25th percentile.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Mr. Pacheco. I didn't understand what the question was. Like, you're talking about the test the assessments that Ms. Ramirez just went over right now?
The school accountability report card is telling the parents, this is what we have. Our teachers have, we've got certified teachers, our teachers are all good to go. We're
Right.
missing. It just gives you a whole lot of data.
Right.
But then when it says, this is the test, this is the district, this is the site, and this is the state. Was this the same test that Ms. Ramirez gave?
Yes, but keep in mind that the school accountability report cards are always a year behind. So it should reflect the previous year.
This was not 2021, 22.
It was
No,
a previous
21,
year.
22.
And if it's not, it would be using the assessment that we use. So if it was iReady, then it would reflect the iReady scores.
No, I don't
For the
think
elementary.
it was, but it was last year's test.
Yes.
Reporting that.
Yeah, all of the information, the teachers, everything is the previous year.
The scores, okay, different
Yes.
score.
Brisa Huerta, Price Director of St. Field Project. Sorry about that.
Thank you. So there's a
Second.
motion by Mr. Calderon,
Yeah.
seconded by Mr. Contreras. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. 12, rejection of claim by Ruby F. Robledo versus Calexico Unified School District. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Calderon. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. 13, first reading, revised policy and regulation 1240, volunteer assistance.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Calderon, seconded by Mr. Pacheco. All those in favor, please state aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Number 14, first reading and waive second reading of Administrative Regulation 4030, non-discrimination in employment.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pacheco, seconded by Mr. Calderon. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Number 15, first reading of new Administrative Regulation 5142.2, safe routes to school programs.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Mr. Calderon, seconded by myself. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. 16, first reading of new board policy and Administrative Regulation 5148.3, preschool early childhood education.
So, second.
Motion by Mr. Pacheco, seconded by Mr. Calderon. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. First reading, number 17, first reading of new board policy and Administrative Regulation 0460, local control and accountability plan.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Calderon, seconded by Mr. Pacheco. All those in favor, please state aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Number 18, compensation increase of $12 per month per board member, 5% for the Calexico Unified School District's governing board effective February 2023.
So moved.
I'll second that. Motion by Mr. Calderon, seconded by myself. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
You know you can't even buy a hamburger, but it's okay.
So there was motion passes, well, 4 in favor and then 1 abstain.
One abstain.
Number 19, approval of the certificated, classified, non-permanent, appointed, and elected official salary schedule.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Mr. Pacheco, seconded by myself. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. 20, resolution approving and accepting a contract for the purchase delivery of certain technology solutions from Dell Technologies,
So moved.
Dell Marketing LLP. Motion
Second.
by Mr. Contreras, seconded by Mr. Calderon, and that's a resolution. Mr. Calderon,
Yes.
Mr. Contreras,
Yes.
Mr. Pacheco,
Yes.
Saraí,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Motion passes 5-0. Number 21, resolution and agreement between Calexico Unified School District and Williams Scottman Incorporated for the purchase of modular library building at Enrique Camarena Junior High School.
I motion to approve with a question.
So there's a motion by Mr. Calderon and a second by Mr. Pacheco, I believe. So go ahead with your question.
All right. Well, who can tell me? Because, eventually, why do we need this building? Because our plan is eventually to bring them to the 9th grade academy. So
Right.
what do we
Absolutely.
not have a library? Or?
No, great question, Mr. Calderon. This is actually a building that we already have right now, but we're leasing.
Okay.
So it's actually a better yield on our investment,
Okay.
to use a term from before, to purchase it outright than to continue purchasing over the next years.
All right.
So it's already there.
Okay.
We're just buying it instead of
Then-
renting it.
Let's go forward then.
So is the resolution, Mr. Calderon,
Yes.
Mr. Contreras,
Yes.
Mr. Pacheco,
Yes.
Saraí,
Yes.
myself, yes. Resolution passes 5-0. Resolution regarding disposition of surplus asset, non-asset HVAC unit at Calexico High School.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Calderon, seconded by Mr. Pacheco. Resolution, Mr. Calderon,
Yes.
Mr. Contreras,
Yes.
Mr. Pacheco,
Yes.
Saraí,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Motion passes 5-0 and reconvene to earlier closed session.
So moved.
We're gonna end reconvene to.
Yes, sir.
Saraí, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And you know what? We're gonna go past 9 o'clock. Sorry about that.